to the third episode of The Perry Life. My name is Mac Perry.
And I'm Talea Perry.
And today, I think we're going to discuss a topic that's very, very uncommon for, I would like to think, a lot of people. There's two aspects to it. There's one, we'll just go right out and say it. My wife is a step-parent. She's a stepmother. And I think that it's the thing that a lot of people can relate to. But the other is that when we met, I already had a child on the way. So, it created a pretty interesting dynamic as to how things would go moving forward. But when I first met my wife, I was very upfront with her about that. The previous relationship that I had been in, I had already made up my mind and decided that I did not want to continue it. And I would be there for my child no matter what. My daughter, her name is Kylan, by the way. She'll be 4 this year. So, it created quite the interesting dynamic between my wife and I to begin our relationship, because as she said in the previous two episodes, before we met, she wasn't really checking for anybody. She really wasn't out to be in a long-term committed relationship at that point due to her her previous relationship. But I felt that it was important to disclose that to her right off the bat, because going into any relationship, you want to be truthful, you want to be honest, you don't want things to come back and haunt you, for sure. And that is that could definitely have been a deal breaker as soon as I told her that. Thank goodness it wasn't, but it definitely could have been. Being a father of 3 now, I couldn't imagine what it must be like to be in my wife's shoes as a step parent to one of the children. And that's not necessarily something I can comment on, which is why I'm going to let my wife talk about her experiences in regards to that. But hopefully, in watching this and viewing or listening, whatever platform you're on, you'll be able to take something away from our story. Because while I think it's uncommon, there are things that many people could probably relate to. And with that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to my lovely wife.
Thanks. So yeah, like my husband said, he disclosed to me early on that he did have a child on the way. And that for me was just kind of, it was honestly kind of weird for me. I didn't know how to feel about that, because it's one thing when you're going into a relationship with someone and the children are already there, but it's another thing when the child isn't even here yet. And then also too, I had to think about like what my family was going to think and things like that. Yeah. It's not something that I actually, I guess it doesn't really matter what people think a lot of times. And I think that's what a lot of people's issues are. And a lot of times that's kind of where a lot of issues are centered. But I would be lying if I said that I wasn't concerned about how my family was going to, how they were going to feel about this, and if they were going to have any reservations, and if that was going to make our relationship look a little bit different. But, I told my family up front, just like he told me up front, when I realized that we were really serious about, being with one another. And, my family was just like, okay, and they were supportive, and it was never an issue. And like my husband said, it was just a really weird situation, because for me on my end, it was odd because we're in this relationship, we're dating each other, we're still getting to know each other, but he was still like going to doctor's appointments and things like that. And one thing I will say, while that was kind of not odd, but kind of difficult for me to digest at the time, I understood it, and I, it made me feel better about the decision and being with this man because, even though, the parents weren't together, he was still going to doctor's appointments. He was still doing what, he needed to do as far as his child was concerned. If that hadn't been the case, then we probably wouldn't be sitting here today, because it's times like that where you can really see someone's character, and that shows a lot of who you are, and so but yeah, so things like that was kind of rough for me to navigate. But then once Kylan was born, it was a whole nother adjustment period. So we went from, okay, you going to doctor's appointments and things like that. Then I adjusted, and it was what it was, and I was glad that he was doing the right thing. And then we shift over into a new season where, okay, baby is here. We are still dating, but now he is going to go spend time with, his child, whom lives, almost an hour away at that point.
Yeah, at that point in time.
So then, we both have jobs. We're still working at the same place. After work, he's going to go spend time with his daughter. And at that time, you were going pretty much every day until inclement weather hit.
Yeah, when she was first born, I was making that trip right after work. And anybody who lives in Ohio, in the Dayton area, from Dayton to Springfield, probably about a good 45 minute drive, So it definitely wasn't ideal. But it was something that obviously I was willing to do. It's a sacrifice that parents have to make. So that's where we were at with that in that particular situation.
Right. So then it became another adjustment period, and I really have to give my hat off to my husband, because he was really trying to juggle 3 different personalities. Because he had to make sure that he was spending time with his child, and, the child's mother, is involved, obviously. And then there's me, who at the time I'm the girlfriend, but he still made time for me, which I can definitely appreciate. So then, we adjust to that, and then we get engaged, and then boom, we're married. And I am an instant stepmother. And one thing I am thankful for is that I was already involved to some capacity in Kylan's life.
Yeah, she's been there since day one. So yeah, it's not like she was introduced.
Right. I feel like it may have been a little bit more difficult if, we were all much older and she were a lot older. And then you have to establish relationships from scratch then. But the good thing is that I was already in the picture when she was born, and when she started, to be around me and things like that, and that helped. But as a step parent, I kind of don't. I have a love-hate relationship with the word stepmother, because I feel like stepmother, it's a lot of negative.
There's
negative vibes,
connotations,
right? Which is crazy, because I don't really see too many people tripping off of stepdaddy.
All I know is that you're another parent, so
right.
We don't. It doesn't matter whether or not you go by step parent or parent, to me, in my opinion, because when you're in our household, you're another parent. You're another parental figure. So obviously, there's always going to be some type of negative connotation with that word. But that doesn't mean we necessarily have to, buy into that.
Yeah. So just being a step parent though, it's just kind of weird to. It's really weird to navigate. Honestly, this is, she's still super young, but when she grows older, it's kind of like how will things evolve? How will the relationship evolve between, between stepmother and stepdaughter, and things like that. It's a lot of, for me, when I instantly became a step parent, I had so many questions hit my head, and it was just like, how is this going to work? What is our relationship going to be like? How to maintain a relationship. But then that one quickly went away, because even just in maintaining relationships with other people, it's kind of just like, for me, it's kind of like a no-brainer. You get in what you get out what you put in.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but one thing that has always been like, not a fear, but something as a step parent you never want to hear is your stepchild say like, "You're not my mom." like, okay, I know I'm not your mom, but you don't ever want, it's just something about that quote that is just like.
Well, the thing about that to me is always, you leave it up to the child to make that determination, through your actions. It's not, mom to her is mom, but.
No, I mean, like, if, like, later on, like, when she gets older, and if there's, like, a disagreement, and she feels, how teenagers are, like, oh, that's not fair, I want to do this, I want to do that, like, and they're always right.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, being in that space, it just, I have an issue of thinking ahead. So I'm like, y'all see, I'm like years and years ahead, but it's just like, it's like when you become, like, for me, when I became a step parent, it's like I'm almost like, I'm just holding my breath, because I'm like, if this comes, I need to be prepared for that. And I'm pretty sure stepfathers too, don't want to hear, "You're not my dad." You know what I mean? So I don't know, but being a step parent or a bonus parent, it is very, very tricky to navigate, especially when there are other children in the picture. And that's something that I find myself having to anticipate now, is when Winter gets older, she's gonna have a set of rules. In our household, her sister may have another set of rules in her household, so then we'll have to readjust and configure, for when they're both under our roof, that those rules are going to apply to both children, so it's just a lot of thinking ahead for me, because, like I said, just being a bonus parent is really, it's really trying to navigate,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could understand that, and the one thing that I have never tried to do is, force Talea upon Kylan. At her young age, she's still, developing, numerous skills and things of that nature. So she's in a developmental stage still at this point in her life. But I've never tried to force, Talea on her as that, that the mother, because, mom is mom and Talea is Talea. And all we can do is through our actions, let her know and show her that, this is another parental figure that you can look to. This is somebody that you can look up to, So while I can't necessarily relate to being, being in the step parent role or the bonus parent role, I do know, in a sense what it might feel like to be, not trying to overstep your boundaries, and
yes.
So that's definitely comes with the territory. And to be honest, taking it back to the beginning, I really didn't know how my wife would react to the news that I already had a child on the way, But,
I was just like, oh.
Yeah. So I mean, as you can see right there, it's just like, at that point, you're at a crossroads. You're like, well, should I commit to this? Should I even jump into this situation? And definitely commendable on her part for willing to take on such a big, role. And
You went in the friend zone while I thought about it.
I have so much admiration for her for doing that, because I know there's a lot of sacrifice that that comes along with that. And in the beginning, there was definitely a lot of tough conversations and different uncomfortable situations that both of us have been put in. But the one thing that I can say is that my wife has always had my back. She's always had my best interest and my daughter's best interest. So, regardless of any disagreements we've ever had, or, her just listening to, my side and, trying to understand how I feel about certain things, and, me doing the same. I would hope that throughout this entire process that we've learned a lot from each other about patience. And I could not be more I'm trying to find the right word for it. I couldn't be more happy with the way that the current situation in that regard has turned out, because I couldn't have chosen a better wife and a better mother figure to step in and be that type of individual in Kylan's life. So
and put her outfits together and do her hair.
Lord knows I can't do those things that well. I'm trying.
Right.
We have another daughter, Winter, who you all met in the last episode. That I'm still having problems with that, but.
The hair thing?
Yes, and with the hair and the dressing and whatnot. I try to do my part, and my wife is really the primary one that does that, but she will, she'll force me to, pick out outfits and things like that, and I'm sure that the hair is going to come as soon as Winter gets
He needs to be able to do a standard bun and a standard ponytail, or in her case, because she has curly hair, a puff.
Yeah.
So I need you to, that's. You gotta do the standard thing.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes going into the future.
Yes.
One thing that's always, I've always kind of wondered is, what exactly did your parents, your mother and your grandparents, say when you told them? Do you remember what they said? Just you don't have to sugarcoat it. You can tell me exactly what they said.
Well, my mom, she was just like, okay, that was honestly, about it, everybody just said, okay, and honestly, that was it, because you also have to remember, we were still in the dating stage. So it was really we were in a committed relationship, but we weren't married yet. So at that point in time, it was just kind of all right, well, if this doesn't work, it is what it is, and that was that, but, well, no, not but, with that being said, my family, not only were they just real cool about it and everything like that, they also do things for Kylan, and I'm actually really happy about that, because I don't know about you guys who do have step children or anything like that, but my even my grandparents and my my mom, when we were living in Ohio, my mom FaceTimed every day.
Yeah, she's been involved, since the jump, for real. I couldn't ask for, better in-laws, and in that regard, they definitely spoil her like they were, like she was their own. So
yeah, I mean, so the FaceTiming and stuff like that was really awesome. And then they get her things for her birthday. They get her things for Christmas. She was just here with us this summer. And they got her things, over the summer, and it's just great because it's like we don't ask for them to do anything. They just kind of, they just kind of threw themselves right on in, and it's been great. They absolutely love Kylan. And even when Kylan was here this summer, like, she just loved spending time with, her sister, and she loved spending time with my mom, who, the kids call Mimi. And, it was just so much fun. It was literally like, she wanted to be with Mimi. Like, can I go see Mimi? What's Mimi doing? Where's Mimi? And it's like, dang, did you come here to see Mimi, or did you come here to see, your dad and me? But it was really cool, and I'm actually really, really happy that those relationships have been, established, and and it's just crazy to think, and I'm just so thankful that, again, that my family was just so accepting, and and they're just like, come on, I just really love that, and I'm so blessed to have a family that is like that, because my family, we are extremely family oriented. Probably a little bit more oriented than what my husband is comfortable with. But family is everything.
They're definitely involved. So I don't have any gripes when it comes to that. But it's just, when I was coming into this situation, it was definitely a lot more interaction between family than I had ever been used to. We come from two completely different types of families, and hers is one that likes to be involved in like every family function,
Sunday dinners,
things like that. And not to say that there's anything wrong with that, or anything wrong with the way that I came up, but it was just completely different types of settings that I was introduced to. So I will say that they have been everything and more than I could have ever asked for, in regards to extended family. They are, they've always had our back in regards to, my daughter. They, have helped us out numerous times, with numerous things. So I definitely couldn't, ask anything more than they've already done. And to those of you, I don't know if we've actually mentioned this, but, I am from Ohio, but we live in Maryland.
Yes.
So my daughter, Kylan, the one that we're, this episode is mainly about, we live a whole state away from her.
Right.
And that creates a whole nother dynamic.
Right. So when I was saying that, my mom would FaceTime Kylan, that was when we were living in Ohio for the first couple of years of our marriage. It wasn't until October 2018 that we moved here to Maryland, and we won't cover why or how we got here in this episode.
Yeah, we'll probably save that for another episode.
That is a completely nother.
It's definitely.
It's a whole nother.
That could be a whole nother episode.
It is. That episode is going to be a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that next month. So, but yeah. So now we're here in Maryland, and she's still in Ohio, and that kind of makes things a little bit more difficult, especially for me being a step parent, and I know it is, for my husband. But all that I can do, and all that I have done since we have moved here, is really just, I made a promise to my husband when we moved here, and that was to go back to Ohio, as often as he wanted to, as often as we could, because we're both working, to go and see his daughter and spend time. And I would hope that my husband thinks that I lived up to that promise. I don't make promises that I can't keep. And with something as important as his relationship with his daughter, I was not going to let that be, off rails or anything like that. So that's that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. My wife has kept up her end of the bargain in that regard. So, I'm very thankful that she has, done everything in her power to make sure that I'm as involved as I can be. Being a whole, different state away. But again, like she said, we'll probably discuss that more at length in a different episode. Upcoming probably next month or something. But I just want everybody to know, that just because you are, a step parent, a bonus parent, doesn't mean that you have to take yourself, out of the parental role and out of that equation, because my wife has tried to do things that I haven't even thought of in regards to her. She does a lot with learning and whatnot, and she's made sure to, keep Kylan as involved with, scholastic stuff as she can, especially during this quarantine.
Yeah, when she was here this summer, we had circle time every day. We had crafting every day.
Yeah.
We did even like some some speech things as well, because the job that I have, I work alongside speech therapists and occupational therapists. So all the curriculum that I implement at work, I implemented for her here as well.
Yeah, so with that being said, she thinks of things that I don't necessarily, that don't come to my mind. It probably should, but they don't. It's not. She thinks outside the box. She thinks about things that are important, that I may have forgotten about or not focused on. So she's doing her part, and that's all that you can really ask for out of your wife or your husband if they're in that role. So she brings a lot to the table in that regard, and not to say that it's perfect or anything, because there's always things that as a couple, as in marriage, that you can work on. Also parental wise, there's always things, always ways that you can improve. So it's not perfect, but we're trying to do our best, and we're trying to be as involved as we possibly can be. It's definitely a stressful situation, when you're talking about co-parenting, but it is not one that I would, trade for the world at this point. If I could go back and do things differently, my previous relationship in regards to Kylan, I would not change the thing. Things happen for a reason, and us, being apart, me and my previous, girlfriend, it happened for a reason, and I wouldn't change that. All I can say is that, Kylan has been, such a blessing to me, and has opened my eyes about a lot of different things. I was not necessarily, obviously, we weren't planning for a child, when it happened, but she has been, she's my little girl. And I think all fathers probably feel that way about their daughters. At least I would hope. But that's, this is all just to say that I wouldn't change anything about how, my past has occurred. And having my wife by my side, and, always supporting me, being truly one of my best friends.
Always.
There's just nothing that I would change about that. And, it's rough at sometimes as a co-parent, and I'm sure it's rough for my wife to, have to kind of sit back sometimes. But
yeah, because I be wanting to say something sometimes, like maybe, and that's the thing too. Also, when you're a step parent, like when you are a step parent and your spouse, is doing things, like you don't want to step on their toes either. Like, even though he's my husband, like there might be some things that I'm thinking in my head, well, why doesn't he just do it this way? Or how about he just why is he doing it like that?
But I try not to be like.
Right, I understand, but I try not to say anything. I try not to say too much, because as a step parent, you don't want to step on your spouse's toes. So you got two sets of toes that you're not trying to step on when you are a step parent. Now, there are some things that, yes, I may say to my husband, hey, honey, I was just thinking, but I don't do that, or try not to do that in front of his daughter. Just like when Winter gets older and we disagree on something, I'm not going to say something to him in front of her. I'm going to talk about it, when she's not around, later. I mean, I don't feel as though it's appropriate for children to be, in the epicenter, when two parents are having a disagreement about parenting, because whether you're a step parent or not, like, you're never going to agree 1,000% on parenting or how you should parent a child, and I just never, and me personally, I just never believed that a child should be present when parents are going back and forth over something like that. Children pay attention to those things, and they remember. Children are a lot smarter than a lot of people give them credit for. If you have kids or you work with kids, you know what I mean. Kids are smart. Like, yeah, they are so smart. And so you just don't want them to pick up on things like that,
Yeah, we definitely try to avoid those types of situations. And I don't want anybody to misconstrue it as, what we're saying, anything bad about, the way the interactions that we've had, or the interactions that, I've had with my child's mother, because that's not the case. We're just specifically referring to, how the difficulties and stress that, co-parenting and being a step parent can,
and just being a parent in general, because everybody is not always on the same page.
Yeah.
It's just,
and as parents, it's perfectly normal for people to have different views of things in regards to how a child should be raised, or things they should be doing, involved in, things of that nature. So it's definitely a fine line that you have to toe, and you have to compromise, just like anything in marriage. You have to compromise,
or any relationship, friendship,
it's give and take. Co-parenting, marriage, anything like that, it's always going to be give and take. So I really just hope that those of you who are watching, listening, can have something to take away from what we're referring to what we're talking about,
or even
today.
If you are getting ready to become a step parent, or whatever, like, you can do it.
Just, my advice would be just be patient, be willing to listen, and just take in and not just respond. So that probably would be my biggest takeaway, because you're not going to agree on everything, but if you can find common ground, if you can compromise, if you can be patient, then you can make it work. We're doing our best, and like we both said, it's not perfect, but it's a work in progress, and I think it kind of always is as a parent. Step
even in just marriage too, like,
so you kind of sometimes you just have to piece it together as you go, especially if you didn't have children previously, as neither of us did beforehand, before Kylan. But we're definitely doing our best to try and make it work, for her, for the benefit. Because really, honestly, it's all, for her, it's all for her. we want her to have the best life that she can, and we want to be able to provide as much as we can for her, you know, and I know her mother feels the same way. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you took something away from it. You know, we're definitely still learning, you know, evolving as, you know, all people are, any walks of life. So feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, you know, whatever you want to do.
Get some merch,
Yes.
you know.
Yes, the Parrot Life has apparel. I'll put the link to it in the description. But again, thank you for viewing, listening, whatever platform you're on.
Yes.
You guys have a good day.
Thank you. Bye, guys.